Hi everyone, my name's Erwin, and I've come from I'm in real estate. I'm the owner and founder. Anyways, a couple friends of mine sent me this article of how someone split a Toronto house into 10 units and is selling it. They're asking for $4 million. So they've asked my opinion on it. I thought I'd record this quick video to share my thoughts and my experience in dealing with multifamily properties. All right, here we go. So here's the article from BlogTO. It's actually quite a good, well-written article, quite balanced, quite fair. So literally, this is the headline: Someone split a Toronto house into 10 units and is now trying to sell for $4 million. So all credit to BlogTO. Everything's coming from all the quotes that I share today are either from this article or from the listing that's on realtor.ca. I shared the MLS number shortly. Anyways, from the listing description from realtor.ca, this is a triplex, so these are their words, not mine, that offers 10 individual fully furnished rental units with 10 kitchenettes and 10 full bathrooms. Now note, a kitchenette is not a kitchen, as in there's not a stove. Typically that's the only thing that's missing between a kitchenette and a kitchen. So it can be a sink, typically it's a sink, and there'll be outlets for microwave, hot plate, and space for a refrigerator. Right. I understand I own quite a few multi-student rentals, so I'm fully aware of this type of business model. Uh, Again, these are their words. Very spacious, separate self-contained units. So there's 10 self-contained units, yet this is a triplex. You're probably as confused as I am. Sounds like a tenplex, does it not? Again, all this information is taken from the listing. You can go check it out yourself, realtor.ca. The MLS number is right there. Also from the description, minutes from U of T. So U of T is generally known as University of Toronto. Maybe they mean something else. Because based on Google Maps, love you Google, the property is 4.7 kilometers away from what Google considers U of T, right? Or that's a 1 hour walk. So that is minutes technically, 60 minutes is minutes. Or you can take transit. Most students don't have cars, so they will take transit. So between walk and bus, it's about 25 minutes to the center of campus. Again, based on Google Maps. This is not my opinion. This is what came out of Google Maps based on the address of the property. So yes, minutes to the property. In my experience as an experienced landlord of student rentals, my target is no more than 15 minutes. 15 minutes. So this is not bad. This distance is not bad. You don't have to be necessarily within like a 5 or 8 minute walking distance from campus. A 15-minute transit ride is kind of like the max that I will go. This bus ride is around 19 minutes. So not that bad. Not too bad. Again, this is Toronto, highly dense area. That's assuming that's who their target customer is based on the size of the rooms. That's what I'm guessing. So the article actually debates, well, actually the description in the listing says that the rooms are spacious. The rooms for a student rental aren't bad, right? My target for a student rental property, my bedrooms, I want them to be all over 100 square foot. So, roughly 10 by 10 feet. Often I'll have one bedroom that's smaller than that. But I want all the rest to be above that because that generates more rent. That's what the students want. They generally want bedrooms that are 100 square feet or more. More the merrier. So this qualifies. If this was a student rental, they've done it. Their room sizes are not bad, but I wouldn't call them spacious. So as a standard practice as an investor and as a realtor, when I always ask sellers, listing agents, do you have permits for the renovations? Again, there's 10 bedrooms in this triplex. Sorry, not 10 self-contained units, not even bedrooms. So my natural question would be, do you have permits for the renovations? So from the City of Toronto responded that a permit was issued in 2014 for a 2-story rear addition, but that permit remains open. So that means the city inspector has never returned to tell them that the work is done and to close the permit. So this is a red flag for any property that's trying to be transacted on. As a general rule of thumb, it's a good idea to have your permits closed before you try to sell, because you don't want to scare buyers and their lawyers, right? Because this will be likely difficult to close on. very difficult to sell a property with an open permit. Recent city inspections that they addressed revealed that work has been conducted without proper permits being issued. Another red flag, right? Here's just another red flag. The city is going to put a work order on the property, and that will again be just another problem in trying to close on this property should anyone actually try to buy this property. So lots of red flags. I know my lawyers wouldn't allow me to purchase this property, and I highly doubt any bank will touch this as well. So in the realtor description, in the description of the property, the existing house and all inclusions being sold as is. The house is furnished. I imagine the furnishings are included. I don't know anyone that really wants to own 10 beds that's, short of 10 beds and 10 desks and 10 kitchen tables, whatnot. So it's all being sold as is. So that also means the intention for the seller is that there's no negotiation if you find any issues with the property, say there's a broken window, say the furnace isn't working, those sorts of things. They're saying basically however it is that you see it today, that's as is. That's what the seller is asking for as a negotiation. So then your price should reflect what you want to pay for the property as is. So challenges with this property, there's this thing called fire code that's enforced by the local fire department. They're going to have their own rules around how to operate a property with 10 separate self-contained units. Even though they all don't have stoves, there's still going to be questions that the fire department will want to ask around fire egress. How will the tenant or the occupant of each of these units, typically they have to have two means of escape from their unit. If it's on the ground floor, usually the window's usually okay. If it's big enough for someone to crawl out the window, but if it's the second floor, then things get a whole lot more complicated. And this property has a third floor as well, as it's a 2.5 story. So once it's above the second story, we're talking about fire escapes. Fire escapes, for those who don't know, they can be extremely expensive. I imagine I would budget for somewhere over north of $70,000 plus permits and all those sorts of things if I were to need a fire escape on a third story, right? So very likely if the fire inspector checks this property, they will fine this landlord significant amounts of money until they comply. Ontario Building Code, so this is what the permits are for. Permits, when you go get a permit for a property, it is to do renovations that are in adherence to Ontario Building Code, so the city will enforce this code. As they don't have permits, there's no way to verify that this property complies with building code. Zoning. In my experience in the markets that I operate, you're not supposed to have more than 3 or 4 unrelated parties in a property, right? So this is a triplex, so in theory, they should be able to have 3 different families living in the property, but again, in reality, there's 10 self-contained units. I don't know how this qualifies as zoning. Yes, I did some little research on City of Toronto's website. This zoning does allow for rooming house, but again, the owner will have to be allowed to operate a rooming house, and also the house has to be renovated as a rooming house. To do a rooming house, in my experience, the renovations are quite extensive. All mutual shared walls have to be fire rated. All the doors to the self-contained units have to be self-closing. There'll be all sorts of fire suppression devices needed in terms of sprinklers, and there'll be interconnected smoke alarms. Very significant investment to do these sorts of things. And I'm going to guess that the owner of the property has not done this properly. Financing. I do not know of any bank that will touch this property. I don't know of any. In my experience, you'd be very hard pressed to find even a private lender who will touch this property. Sure, there's always someone who will if you put up a whole bunch of money, but based on the property the way it is today, the sellers are limited to only very few select buyers. Likely those who have cash, but if you have cash in today's market, you have lots of options. I'm not sure who would be buying this property based on its current condition, based on it has open permits, based on there's a stop work order on it. All right. And then, of course, yes, like I said, lawyer review. None of the lawyers I work with would ever allow me to purchase this property or my client to purchase this property. So this will be definitely a difficult sell for anyone. So in summary, get permits, do things the right way so that you can sleep at night. You know, God forbid someone gets hurt in a fire in this property, the lawsuits will be massive and people will get hurt. Very sad thing. Real estate investing works best with inexpensive financing. Like I said, I don't know what bank or lender will touch this property, and if they do, it will not be cheap. So if you do things right with permits, that is your path to the most inexpensive rates to borrow at, often from Schedule A lenders. Build a power team of professionals you can trust. So there are people out there who will tell you this is a good deal. That would not be me. That would not be anyone on my team of inspectors, designers, contractors, lawyers. So I know that I would be safe and my clients would be safe from buying properties such as this. That's my profession. That's just my opinion and my experience. And it's always a good practice for any investor to review, especially if you're new. You should look at a lot of deals, a minimum 10. Look at a minimum 10 properties that before you crunch the numbers, that you think you would be interested in buying. Run the numbers, go see them. The more properties you see, the better, because there's that saying that it's all relative. If you've seen a lot of properties, for example, I've seen hundreds. So say you saw 100 properties, you would quickly know what the top 20% look like. And now maybe focus on that as your profile for property to target. And that makes your life a whole lot easier when reviewing deals. So put some effort in up front and it'll be worth it long term. So that's all for me. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll be back. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with more interesting updates in the future. Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.